You know what this is?
SpiderMan?
This isn't just like #1 Spider-Man.
The Spider-Man comic that slipped away. A man walks into the pawn shop holding a comic book as if it were made of gold. He's not nervous, he's excited, because in his hands is Amazing Fantasy number 15, the very first appearance of Spider-Man. This isn't just some dusty old collectible, it's a giant in the comic world, the origin of one of the biggest superheroes on the planet. The second he pulls it out, the whole shop leans in. This is the kind of thing people dream of finding in an attic. A true collector's trophy.
Where did you get this?
My brother and I, about 20 years ago, we bought a collection of comic books, and this was just in there.
He says he found it tucked in a pile of comics he and his brother bought over 20 years ago, just sitting there, waiting to be noticed. It's a once-in-a-lifetime score, and now he wants to cash in. He's asking for $16,000, and in his mind, it's worth every cent. Spider-Man is a global icon. The movies, the merch, the legacy, it all started with this one issue. He sees this comic as a golden ticket, and he's betting the pawn shop will see it too.
That's amazing. Oh, you're like the guy who buys the Andy Warhol at a garage sale.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Corey's been in the game too long to jump at a shiny object without a closer look. He knows that condition is everything in the comic world. Even the rarest issue can lose value fast if it has the slightest damage. And with a comic this big, the pressure's on. Corey decides to bring in his comic book expert before going any further. He won't even take it out of the sleeve himself. It's that serious.
Amazing Spider-Man was the #1 in the series. This is like the introduction to that. It was kind of like the comic books version of a TV pilot.
When the expert arrives, he knows exactly what he's looking at. He's seen top-grade copies of this same comic go for over $1 million, but those are flawless. No chips, no stains, no spine damage. This one, it's got problems. There's visible chipping along the edges, fading on the cover, a few small creases. It's still intact, no missing pages, but the wear is obvious, and unfortunately, in this world, condition is king.
Fantasy 15, man, fantastic. I've seen one in a 9.6 condition go for over $1 million.
After a full inspection, the expert gives his take. It's in very good to fine condition. Not a total bust, but not close to mint either. He estimates its value at around $6,000 to $7,000. That hits the seller hard. He came in thinking he had a jackpot. Now he's looking at less than half his asking price. He tries to argue, tries to explain the cultural importance, but the expert stays firm. The flaws knock it down, no way around it.
The $6,000 to $7,000 range?
Really? That's way, way less than where I would put it.
Corey offers $7,000. That's his ceiling. The seller tries to bargain, then drops down again, and finally rests at $10,000. But Corey won't move. The damage is too much. In this market, $7,000 is generous. Corey's not taking a risk, no matter how historic the issue is.
I can tell you from my experience, this is the worst time in history to be selling comic books.
I could go 11.
You know, with the condition issues that it has, it's just not there for me.
In the end, the comic walks out with the seller. No deal, just disappointment. He still believes it's worth more. Maybe one day, someone will pay what he's asking, but not today, not in this pawn shop.
This is the rarest, most significant Star Wars prototype in the world.
The $150,000 Boba Fett that never was. A man walks into the pawn shop holding a piece of Star Wars history. It's small, plastic, and no bigger than a hand. But this isn't just a toy. This is a one-of-a-kind rocket-firing Boba Fett prototype from 1979. The moment it's placed on the counter, the room changes. Even Rick, who's seen just about everything, knows this could be something serious. In the world of Star Wars collecting, this isn't just rare, it's legendary.
Prototype of Boba Fett. It is a rocket-firing Boba Fett action figure that was never actually mass-produced. I'm here to sell the figure today.
The seller explains that this figure was shown at the 1979 Toy Fair in New York. It was supposed to be the next big thing. Boba Fett, mysterious, dangerous, cool, came with a working rocket launcher on his back. But right before it hit shelves, the toy company panicked. That tiny red rocket, the one meant to fire from his back, was suddenly seen as a choking hazard, so the entire launch was shut down. The final retail versions had the rocket glued in place, but this prototype, it still works.
This was actually displayed at the 1979 Toy Fair in New York City, and it is the only carded rocket-firing Boba Fett in the world.
This prototype is the last of its kind, the only one still sealed to its original packaging. He's held on to it for years, knowing full well what he had, but now he's ready to pass it on, hopefully to another hardcore Star Wars fan. He wants $150,000. Firm, no negotiating. In his eyes, it's worth every penny. This isn't nostalgia, it's a museum-grade artifact from a galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
And everybody was just beyond upset.
That is really neat. What price do you want for this priceless item?
I am asking $150,000 firm.
Rick doesn't waste time guessing. He calls in his Star Wars expert, someone who knows the ins and outs of rare toys. The expert's reaction says it all. This is the Holy Grail, the crown jewel of Star Wars figures. With a working rocket, sealed card, and direct Toy Fair provenance, this isn't just rare, it's completely unique. The expert throws out a number, a minimum of $125,000. That's a lot of money, but not enough for the seller, who holds firm at $150,000.
Real? Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This is the holy grail of Star Wars toy collecting. It's right here, and it's in your store.
Rick weighs the options. He's not buying this to frame it on his wall. He needs to flip it. He makes a serious offer, $100,000 cash. That's more than most people make in a year sitting on the table, but it's still not enough. The seller shakes his head. To him, it's not just about the money. It's about what the toy represents, rarity, history, and the untouchable value of being the only one in the world.
It is a bargain.
I'm not going to buy this for an investment. I'm going to buy this to resell it.
I understand.
The deal falls apart. No handshake, no sale. The rocket-firing Boba Fett leaves the pawn shop the same way it came in, untouched, priceless, and still searching for the right home. Perhaps one day, someone will hand over $150,000 without a second thought. But today, the galaxy's rarest bounty stays off the shelf.
Hey, how can I help you?
Hi, how are you? I've got a really great motorcycle. I think you're gonna want to check it out.
Sweet. I got an alley in the back. You want to pull it back there?
You got it.
The vintage motorcycle that nearly blew Corey's mind. Every so often, something rolls into the gold and silver pawn shop that instantly stops time. Not a watch, not a coin, but a machine with a story. That's exactly what happens when a guy shows up with a 1940 Indian Chief motorcycle, complete with a sidecar and military history dripping off every bolt.
You got a 1940 Indian Chief with sidecar, World War II veteran.
This is really cool.
From the moment Corey lays eyes on it, he's hooked. The thing looks like it belongs in a war museum, not someone's backyard. And as the seller starts explaining its background, built in the early 1940s, shipped to France during World War II, seized and repurposed by German forces, it's clear this isn't just a cool bike. It's a historical artifact.
I'm selling to pay for my daughter's college. I'd like to come out with 46, 45,000. I'd go a little bit lower, but not much.
Indian motorcycles are worthy, reliable, and beautifully designed. And this one, it's been restored, rewired, and rebuilt with care. The paint job pops, the engine hums like the pride of American engineering back then. Sure, a beast, and every part looks like it's been obsessively maintained. The guy says he's an Indian collector, and it shows.
I had to get everything up and working on it. It needed complete rewire and put a battery, I put some fresh oil, and started up. It ran beautifully.
He's asking for $55,000, maybe even $60,000. That's a steep price, even for something this rare and eye-catching. But instead of brushing it off, Corey takes the cautious route. He doesn't dismiss the bike outright. He calls in a vintage motorcycle expert to verify every detail. If the story holds up, it could be worth a second look.
So I was hoping to get between $55,000 and $60,000.
I got a buddy that I'd really like to have take a look at it, let me know what it's worth, a few things like that.
The expert arrives, takes one look, and is floored. He can't believe how clean it is. Bikes like this usually sit behind glass. This one still runs smoothly. They take it out for a quick test ride, bouncing down the street in that rickety sidecar like it's a joyride through history. When they return, the verdict is in.
It was one of the most reliable bikes that the military had.
What makes it so reliable?
The way the engines were built and the transmissions, they were a lot more sturdier than the Harley-Davidson ones.
The seller doesn't love that number. He thinks the sidecar alone adds another $5,000. He brings up the historical value, the restoration work, and the originality of the frame. But Corey's done his homework. He recently sold a nearly identical bike at auction for $42,000. That one didn't look quite as pristine, but it was close. So he puts $38,000 on the table.
I need to know what it's worth.
Before I give a price, I mean, I'd like to take a ride in it, see how the suspension is in that sidecar.
The room tightens. That offer feels like a slap to the seller, who's already emotionally tied to the bike. He says $40,000 is the absolute lowest he can go. Corey hesitates. He doesn't like spending that kind of money unless he sees a clear profit, but this is a rare find, and Corey's got a soft spot for motorcycles.
I got $42,000 for it.
With the sidecar?
Sidecar.
Was it as nice as this?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't as nice as this, but it was pretty damn close. I'll give you 38 grand for it.
In the end, Corey caves. He pays the man $40,000, knowing full well it's a gamble. The seller walks away with enough money to cover his daughter's college tuition. Corey walks away with one of the most iconic military motorcycles ever built. And as the dust settles, it's clear this wasn't just another pawn shop deal. It was a slice of living history traded for a shot at a better future.
Nah, it's not for sale. I'm selling what is in the back.
Oh, looks like a bunch of junk in the trunk.
The Porsche Engine that nearly made Rick walk out. It's not unusual for wild items to roll into the gold and silver pawn shop, but on this day, something truly odd pulls up. A guy with a full Porsche Carrera 911 engine strapped in the back of his truck. The kind of thing that screams horsepower and high performance. But in Rick's world, it also screams risk.
I know about the engines because I work in a junkyard. That's my job, to sell parts.
The seller claims he picked it up from a junkyard, says it's from a 2000 Porsche Carrera, and wants nearly $5,000 for it. Rick's intrigued but cautious. Porsche motors can be worth serious cash, especially the 6-cylinder, water-cooled, low-profile types like this one. On paper, it sounds like a decent find, but Rick knows better than to trust appearances, especially when the word junkyard enters the chat.
This motor right here, it's a 6-cylinder, water-cooled, pancake motor. They're much better balanced.
From the moment he walks over to the engine, Rick's radar starts pinging. The engine looks rough, way too rough. The metal is dull and corroded in places. There's evidence of exposure, possibly even saltwater damage. Rick asks a few probing questions and quickly learns it's been sitting for years, and not under the best conditions. And that's when the alarm bells start to really ring.
Was it right by the ocean?
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's got a lot of water damage.
But not inside, just outside. I asked the guy in the junkyard to run it out.
He does what he always does when things feel sketchy. He calls in his go-to mechanic, Danny. If there's one guy who can sniff out trouble in a motor, it's him. Danny doesn't just look under the hood. He listens, probes, and questions like the engine's hiding secrets.
Cool motor, but I got some concerns. It looks like water damage. I just want someone to look at it, all right?
All right.
All right, let me go give him a call. I'll be right back.
Danny shows up and immediately clocks the same issues. He sees exposed compartments, unsealed fuel rails, and a throttle body that's been left open to the elements. Everything that should have been sealed is wide open. And when that happens, moisture and corrosion don't just sit on the outside, they creep inside. This engine might look like a Porsche heart on the surface, but what's happening internally is anyone's guess.
Well, you know I'm a Porsche fan. Porsche's definitely got their act together. I mean, they're great performance motors. They're lightweight. They got a great low center of gravity, you know, because everything's set down on the bottom like that.
Danny breaks it down with brutal honesty. The only way to know if it works is to crack it open, and even then, it's a gamble. Rick doesn't like gambling with $5,000, but the seller? He pushes back hard, insists it's a solid motor, swears by it, says any mechanic worth their salt would see it's still good to go. Rick's not buying it, not the engine and not the argument.
You know, there's a lot of compartments that should have been closed up and they're all open. When things are left open, like this throttle body is left exposed and these fuel rails are left exposed, there's...
Tension builds. The seller won't stop talking, and Danny's patience wears thin. But instead of exploding, Danny just walks away. And Rick? He doesn't even bother making a lowball offer. To Rick, the risk isn't just financial, it's personal. He's not about to stake his shop's reputation on a water-damaged motor from a junkyard that's been sitting who knows where for who knows how long.
I don't think all the corrosion can go inside the engine because there is no pressure, so they won't go inside the injectors.
He thanks the guy and passes cold. No deal, no negotiation, just a hard stop. The seller leaves with his engine. Rick just shakes his head. In a place like this, where anything can walk through the door, knowing when to say no might be the most valuable skill of all.
Got something here to show you. See if you're interested in it. It's an 1880 Knights Templar uniform.
That's really, really cool.
A man called John T. Long owned it, and he became a Knights Templar in 1889.
The Templar robe that left Rick speechless. It's not every day that a 140-year-old Knights Templar uniform walks into the gold and silver pawn shop. The thing looks like it stepped out of a museum. Rich embroidery, shining bullion, and the aura of secret rituals. The seller claims it belonged to a man inducted into the Templars in the late 1800s, and Rick can't deny it. It's cool, really cool. The history practically leaks out of the fabric. Every stitch seems to whisper tales of crusades, buried treasures, and mysterious brotherhoods.
The Knights Templar is an organization associated with the Masons. I have been a member for over 20 years. If they were guarding the Holy Grail, I never got invited to help.
At first glance, Rick is impressed. The gold and silver threads are all hand-stitched. Nothing's been touched in over a century, and somehow the details remain pristine. The silver hasn't tarnished. The cape still holds its weight. It's clear this piece was preserved with reverence. And to Rick, who's been a member of the modern Templars himself for over 20 years, this hits a personal nerve. He knows the myths, the lore, the stories of the Holy Grail and lost riches. This isn't just a costume. It's a chapter from a secretive corner of history.
I've been a Knights Templar for over 20 years.
Oh, okay. The story of the Knights Templar is pretty damn cool. Some of the myths were that when they did originally go to the Holy Lands during the Crusades, they found the Holy Grail. They found the Ark of the Covenant.
But admiration doesn't pay bills, and Rick knows better than anyone that rare doesn't always mean valuable. As striking as the uniform is, there's one massive problem. Nobody's buying. It's not that the piece isn't authentic, it's that the market for Masonic or Templar memorabilia is a dead zone. Rick's tried before rare medallions, ornate regalia, you name it. They sit on the shelves, untouched for months, collecting more dust than they offer. Then the seller drops the number $6,700.
All the embroidery on it is hand done. It's all in gold bullion and silver bullion. What makes this so unusual is this hasn't been touched in over 115 years, and all the silver is in beautiful condition.
That's when Rick's tone changes. He goes from fascinated to frustrated in the blink of an eye. Because while the craftsmanship is museum grade, the resale value is a nightmare. Rick has learned this the hard way. He's had stunning Masonic pieces in the shop that barely drew a glance. And here's this guy expecting thousands for an item Rick might never flip. Not even at a loss. Just not at all.
It's super interesting. It's amazing work. Here's my big problem. The only person who's going to buy this is nobody.
Rick breaks it down bluntly. The reality is harsh, but there's no point sugarcoating it. This item, no matter how rich its history or rare its find, is practically unsellable. The kind of item that only appeals to one person out of a million, and that one person probably isn't walking through the door anytime soon.
I have the most beautiful gold, detailed Masonic medallions and stuff like that. No one will give me a dime for them. Maybe your temple thing will buy them off you at a massively reduced rate, but it's just too damn hard to sell.
Still, Rick hates turning away good history. You can see it in the way he hesitates. But business is business. No matter how much he personally respects the Templars or the legacy sewn into that robe, it's just not worth the risk. He politely passes, sends the man on his way, and leans back with the kind of look that says, "That hurt more than I'll admit."
Thanks for bringing it in, and have a good one.
Thank you so much. I understand it's a very difficult item to sell, but I wish you would have bought it.
In another world, maybe one where buyers lined up for relics of secret brotherhoods, Rick might have jumped on it. But here, in the real world, even the coolest stories sometimes end in silence.
I am trying to sell this leather biker jacket. I'm thinking it's from either World War I or World War II.
The war trophy that turned out to be German. At first glance, it just looks like an old leather biker jacket scuffed, worn in, maybe from a forgotten closet. But once Chum Lee spots the patches and stitching, the whole thing shifts. Mac, sewn onto the chest, an airborne patch. The words "Battered Bastards of Bastonia" were painted across the back like a battle cry. It's not fashion, it's a story, and it might just be a relic from one of the most brutal standoffs of World War II.
Biker jacket that I believe is from either World War I or World War II. I'm hoping to get $1,000 for this jacket, especially since vintage.
The seller doesn't know much. It just came from his dad's collection and might be worth something. Chumley agrees it might, but there's something off. The cut is shorter, tighter, almost European. American jackets from the 40s had a different fit, and that opens a new question. Is this even American? Chumley calls in backup.
Found this when I was cleaning out closets in my house. My dad has always collected vintage leather jackets, and this one was just in there.
Enter the expert. One glance, and the mystery deepens. The patches reference Normandy and Bastogne, two of the most iconic moments in the history of the 101st Airborne Division. The battered bastards were really trapped in freezing snow, surrounded by German forces during the Battle of the Bulge. No food, no ammo, no chance. When the Germans demanded surrender, the US commander famously replied with a single word: nuts. This jacket, it doesn't just nod to that legacy, it wears it.
There's a bunch going on with this jacket. The battered bastards of Bastogne, that's referencing the Battle of the Bulge.
But here's the twist. The cut of the jacket doesn't lie. It's German, classic Luftwaffe design. A high-cropped waist, sharp shoulders, and all the signs of a pilot's coat, which means the most likely origin. An American soldier took it off a captured German pilot, brought it home, and turned it into a one-of-a-kind war trophy, a piece of leather wrapped in bloodlines and battle scars.
It's actually really classic German pilot leather jacket, a Luftwaffe pilot.
Still, authenticity matters. Chumley watches closely as the expert zooms in on the paint, spidering, flaking, aged into the cracks of the leather like only time can do. This wasn't added later. This is wartime paint, the real deal.
Well, I know that these are faked often. What are the steps we can take to figure out if this jacket was painted wartime?
Then comes the number 12,000. That wasn't a mistake. That's what a collector might pay for it. But Chumley doesn't flinch. He's been in this game long enough to know rarity doesn't guarantee a sale. Something this niche, this loaded with military symbolism, it'll take the right buyer. And that buyer could take years to find. He offers $1,000, just for the laughs.
I would not be surprised to see this thing sell at $12,000.
Wow.
All right, well, thanks for coming down.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. See you, chum.
The seller keeps pushing, but Chumley's already pulling back. It's not about the quality or the history, it's about the risk. There are too many unknowns, and it'll take too long to move. This isn't the kind of item you stick on the shop floor. It belongs in an auction house, somewhere with the reach to find a buyer who isn't just after a jacket, but the story stitched deep into its seams.
It's gonna take a very special person to buy this. I just don't think that it's a good fit for me right now. Put this in an auction, you'll probably get the 12,000, maybe even more, and you can come back and thank me later.
Chumley passes, politely, firmly, and without regret, because even when the history is bulletproof, the business still needs a buyer.